Hello, welcome to the Kidney Kitchen. I'm super excited today because you might see we've got some help in the kitchen with us. Nathan Outlaw, who's a very good friend of mine, has agreed to come in and cook some food for us. How you doing?
Very good, thanks. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Pleasure, thank you. What are we cooking today, Nathan?
I'm going to cook a nice sort of take on spaghetti and meatballs. It's spaghetti and hake balls, so we're using fish instead of meat. Obviously, I don't know anything about meat. I only know about fish. So I thought we'd do this dish. It's a really nice and simple one, and it's one of those ones that I think anybody in the family like. I created this originally for a children's recipe because it's something nice and simple and a way to get fish into a children's diet, but I really love it. I think the sauce is nice. It's got fennel in there. It's got sort of herbs in there. So I think we should just get cracking.
Let's do it.
Okay, so the first thing we need to do is get the pan nice and warm, not too hot. Bit of sunflower oil, and then straight in with the shallots. So give the shallots a little stir, and then add the chopped garlic. And we're going to cook that together just until it starts to soften. So once the shallots and the garlics are starting to soften, add 2 chopped red chilies. And then we're looking for about another minute just so you get rid of the rawness of the vegetables and they start to soften. And then we're just going to scrape them out of the pan and allow them to cool just so that they don't cook the fish when you mix them together. So I've got a lovely hake fillet here. It's already been skinned and pin boned, but I'll just double check it before we put it into the mix. So what you need to do is just check over the middle of the fillet and just have a look on the bottom side of it and make sure there's nothing there. Because what we want is a nice sort of like smooth fish ball. We don't want it to have any bits in it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just sort of equally slice the fish along the fillet. And then what we're looking for is equal sort of sized dice. And that way it will just blend evenly. You don't want to go too small and you don't want to go too big. So I'm looking, I suppose that's like a 2 centimetre dice roughly. And then that's ready to go into the food processor. Now, depending on the size of your food processor, it might be that you need to do this in 2 batches. But I reckon I can get all of this into one for this recipe. Okay, so lid on. Alright, that's enough. So what we're looking for, as you can see, is just a bit of a nice paste. And it's still cold. And that's very important that it's still cold. Because now we're going to mix in the vegetables that we've already fried off. And they're going to bring the whole thing together to make the fish balls. And then we're just going to put it into a cold bowl. And what's nice about hake is it's actually quite a dry meat. And in this context, it's what you need. You don't want it to be too wet. Because we're going to form some nice fish balls with it. So get everything out, get rid of that. And then got the vegetables from earlier on, which are now gone cool. We're just gonna scrape those in to the bowl as well. And then the next thing we need to add to it is the herbs. So we've got some nice chopped parsley, which we're gonna put in there. And some chopped dill as well. You can use any herbs you want. These are just the ones I think are nice with it.
A few chives in there?
Yeah, chives would be lovely. Or even some sort of like aniseedy sort of flavours like, or tarragon. It's nice. Good. So just mix that together. And then it got an egg as well. And what the egg does, it binds the whole thing together. Okay? And then you just fold that whole thing together. Try not to overwork it, but what we're looking for is you'll find as you mix, it starts to bind. And that way, once that gets to that stage, we know we can make it into the balls.
Smells really good even now, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's really nice. I say the chili's in there. You don't need to have that heat in there if you don't want it. You could put anything in there really, but you know, it's one of those things. The fish on its own will be very bland. So what you need to do is add flavour to it and make sure it tastes good. Okay, so that's mixed in well. It just needs a little bit of pepper. So that mix is ready now. And we're going to portion it up with a couple of spoons. So you can just sort of push them together like that. And you get sort of a nice rustic sort of fish ball. Yes, I think like using the spoons gives you a nice even size. It means it's going to cook evenly as well.
Yeah.
But you make them as big and small as you want. Obviously, if they're bigger, they're going to take longer to cook. But when you do the smaller ones, it makes the portion look a little bit bigger, which is quite nice.
Looks like 3 or 4 a portion there, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you'll get plenty. That's a nice thing about this recipe, is it looks a lot more than it actually probably seems when you see the weight of it. I mean, same thing, this is obviously for making the meatballs, or the fish balls in this case, but you do the same thing. You can make them into burgers. You can do, you can spice them up and make it into different cakes. But essentially, you're taking the protein of the fish, flavouring it the way you want to, but the process works the same way. Yeah. Okay, so they're all ready now, the hake balls. There's 20 there, so if it's just 2 of you, you could freeze half of that.
Freeze them.
Yeah, and then you could freeze them on that tray. Take them off once they're frozen, put them into a container, and they'll be fine. We've just got to thaw them out. So, but for these ones today, they need to go in the fridge to firm up.
Perfect.
All right. Okay, so while the hake balls are in the fridge, let's get the sauce started. So you've got a nice hot pan, and then 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And then the first part of the sauce is to put the onions in. So we've got some chopped onion. Give that a stir, and I'm just going to fry that for about 2 or 3 minutes, just to start to soften. Okay, so the onions now look softened and translucent, so we're going to add the garlic, which is chopped. Okay, and now the rosemary, and then the fennel seeds. And for me, are really important for this sauce. They bring a real difference to a tomato sauce. And then some sliced fennel bulb. And we're going to cook that and sweat that down for 3 minutes. Okay, so the fennel's nice and soft now. It's after 3 or 4 minutes. And the next thing we need to add is a bit of sugar and 100 ml of sherry vinegar. I'm going to cook that down now for another 2 minutes. Okay, so that's been now bubbling away for 2 minutes, and then we're going to add 2 tins of chopped tomatoes. Give that a good stir, and then let that simmer away for another 10 minutes. And that's it. So the tomato sauce has now been cooking away for 10 minutes. The fennel's starting to soften a little bit, and it smells fantastic. So the next thing we need to do is put the fish balls into the sauce and then get them cooking. So just lay the fish balls into the sauce. And what will happen, we'll put a lid on once we've got them all in there. And the steam from the heat of the sauce will just cook the fish balls. And that will take about 10 minutes. Now all we need to do now is put the lid on. So we've got some boiling water, and we're going to cook the spaghetti. And this is quick cooked spaghetti, so that will take about 5 to 6 minutes. Okay, so the spaghetti is now cooked, so we're just going to drain that off. And then catch a little bit of the water. While it's still draining, just straight back into the pan. So you want a little bit of that cooking water in there. So our fish balls are now ready in the sauce. Take some of the sauce out of the pan and mix it with the spaghetti. And the reason why I do that is otherwise it all just congeals together, and you would struggle with portioning it up. Yeah. So just give that a little bit of a mix. So I've got my bowl, and then what I'm going to do is just take a portion of the spaghetti. Got 5 of these hake balls per portion. So that's it, there's a nice portion there, okay? And I'm just going to finish it off with a little bit of chopped parsley.
Little chefy twist.
Yeah, got to make it look nice.
Absolutely.
And then we've got a little bit of olive oil as well, which we'll just take a little bit, just on the top there. And that's it.
We've got Laura in the kidney kitchen today, dietitian. Keep an eye on things, Nathan. Make sure we're doing okay.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Yeah, really good, thank you.
What do you reckon?
It looks really nice, and it's got that really nice sort of smell that I can smell the fennel in it, which I think is a bit of a different ingredient, isn't it? So if somebody's got some sort of taste changes or it's a different flavour, that's really nice for them.
Sure. Nathan's dish, I'll let him tell you all about it.
Yeah, well, basically it's sort of, it's taking protein in the fish and then also getting something that's not got much flavour and making sure there is lots of flavour in it.
I've gone in already.
Is it good?
Yeah, lovely.
Yeah, no,
I don't know how we're going to eat this, so I've got your knife, fork and spoon.
Well,
It's going to be a bit messy.
See how we go, but yeah, it looks really nice as well, doesn't it? It's come out really well.
Yeah. I love that fennel flavour. Is there anything
Yeah.
else you could use, Nath, apart from the fennel?
I would like to think that you could probably put something like your courgettes in there. Would work quite well if you got, especially in the summertime, if you've got a lot of courgettes in your garden. I think mixing up the herbs is the nicest thing you can do for the dish. If if you fancy going a little bit more Asian with it, you could add some spices to it. Yeah, you don't. It doesn't have to be pasta. It can just be like the fish balls in the sauce with some extra vegetables on the side or whatever. Them sort of things.
Great.
But what I love about it is when I try to introduce it to my children, you're always trying to get kids to eat different things. They loved it. If you gave them the piece of hake on its own, they would have gone, well, I'm not touching that. But it's amazing what you can do when you sort of recreate something else.
And I like all that added flavour, but no added salt in it as well, which is really important for our kidney patients. So that's a real bonus. And like you were saying, because it's all that extra protein, that's quite good for somebody as well if they're on dialysis, sort of a nice low-fat way to get that extra protein in that you need.
Can you freeze the fish balls as well, Nathan?
Yeah, well, this recipe we've done today is for 4, but if there's just 2 of you, you can take half of the fish balls and you can freeze them. Just let them go solid on the tray, take them off, put them into a little container, and they'll be fine. Just got to defrost them on something, you know. Yeah, it's nice.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's a really nice flavour. They're really good.
Yeah,
Thank you for doing that one for us.
No worries.
Brilliant.
There you go.